I suppose it's hugely important. For me, I've always grown up in this region, so I've never known it to be anything other than an airport region. But from the community point of view, it has to be the area of high employment potential. Not only inside the fences, we would say, from the airport activities, but also from the businesses and the industry and the foreign investment that has come to our region as well. Now, we're only beginning to exploit that in Ireland. I think there's a huge opportunity to do it even more. But then, and we've been very lucky in Dublin Airport, because our planners have had huge foresight, and going back 50 years, where they have kept the approach tracks into the airport absolutely free of residential accommodation all the way out as far as the coast. Now, that was wonderful foresight. Maybe it was the fact that it wasn't a very busy place 50 years ago, but that's been huge.
So long-term planning and looking ahead and anticipating developments is absolutely crucial to make a success of it.
Despite the fact of long-term planning, airports do expand, and when you start putting in a second runway or a third runway or a fourth runway, well then it's very difficult to retrofit that piece of infrastructure into an already established urban area, and that's where the difficulties arise. But I would always, during my presidency of ARC, I've always emphasised that we start off as lucky regions. We have employment. The employment and the airport have first of all create opportunities, and then they have impacts. And what we have failed to do, I believe, and this is what ARC is about, is to try to coordinate how we address the impacts that the airport activity have on the quality of life that people have in the region. But the one thing you must remember is you must keep your airport. I think it is the key, and very often the people who benefit from the airport are not the ones who are impacted, or at least the impacts are not divided equally. I could equally say the benefits are not divided equally as well. And what's been difficult in Europe is our system of governance of airports. If you go around the different airports, in some places the local authority owns them, some places the state owns them, some places they're privately owned. And so it's not one size fits all. There have been two things. One, that what we do is we share best practice, and I think we probably would have spent maybe the first 5 to 10 years trying to convince the industry and indeed the European Commission that we were not against airports and we were not against aviation, that what we were trying to do was to get a balanced approach to the development. And clearly the very large airport regions like Schiphol, like London, like Paris, well, because they have hugely, in fact, overused airports, they might say, well, the impacts that they have are far greater. But we must make sure that in trying to redress the impact or to mitigate the effects of it, that we don't put down legislation or regulations that stop the development of other regions. So it really is balanced. And I feel that this quality of life, the QLAIR project that we are talking about today, that it really is the synthesis of 3 years' work and a number of regions working together to put forward strategic guidelines that really do work for everybody.
Do you think policymakers generally put enough emphasis on this question of quality of life, or does it tend to be all dealt with in silos? We have an issue relating to slots, or we have an issue relating to noise, and that what you're really calling for here is a much more holistic approach, which says what is quality of life and how do we deliver it?
That's exactly what we are doing, but what I think the Commission has finally understood, and even the industry and ACI have been very good about this. That's the airport, the airport conference. They realise that unless they deal with the community, they are going to have the community parading up and down outside their airport, blocking the development of their airport for the next 6 to 10 years. So they have to engage. But you're right, they have worked in silos. Airports have seen, look, is it not good enough for you that we're bringing an airport to you and bringing the employment? Why are you trying to stop it? Airlines just want to get their planes in and out fast and to maximise their...
But a last thought on that, you emphasise the need to engage with the community. That is precisely what local authorities are better placed to do than many others, is it not?
Collaborative working between the airports, the local authorities, and indeed the national authorities as well. But very often just I suppose, because so many regions would clamour to have an airport, the national government would look at a local government that was complaining about some of the impacts of an airport and saying, what are you whinging about? Haven't you got all these jobs? And it's not that simple. It's just that, well, particularly again, if you're in a very large region, like I go back to Schiphol again, who are the Holland region who have led this project, is they've millions of people who are affected by the impacts of the airport. And so you ignore them at your peril.
So it's all about maximising the benefits and, as you say, bringing the local community in and addressing their concerns.
Communication. If the people are reasonable, they do know that the jobs in the region depend on the airport, but what they want is honest, on time, transparent operations.